the key to why support and resistance flip. Look, everyone talks about how price floors like support and price ceilings like resistance revert or switch places. But why they do it can add to your confidence if you understand the mechanics. And this is something I learned from my late father. I've been using in my trading and analysis for 26 plus years, and I'm going to dive into it on some charts with you here. I'm Hima Reddy, using price action, market timing, and momentum. Let's go for it. Now, before we look at the charts, important reminder that trading and investing can be extremely risky business. Therefore, it's your responsibility to evaluate any information, opinion, advice, or other content contained in this session. All right, here we are on an intraday chart of oil with some recent action. And this applies whether it's an intraday chart, like a 15-minute oil futures chart, a daily chart, anything outside of commodities, anything outside of futures, right? The concept is exactly the same. So let's follow along. So let's just take this low here that formed at 98.42 and follow, okay? We had a big push up higher, great. A little bit of consolidation, another push up. So this was kind of a strong uptrend in motion. Then it started to have a little bit of a pause, picked up again. And then another more significant down move. Okay, so anybody who is newer to trading or more advanced probably can see that along the way in this up move, there were areas of price support, right? Price floors coming in where buyers in all their different forms, whether it's actual speculative, self-directed traders like you and me, institutions, algorithms that are preset, whatever, came in and supported these markets. So let's look at this as the most recent support. Now I use pink for support, it just helps with my identification of charts quickly, and mark this 106.45. Now check this out. I'm gonna move the label out of the way so you can really see the analysis. And it may not be by much, but right here on this candle, this market broke down to 106.39. So technically the support was broken. So in order for support, a price floor, to become a price ceiling, the first thing it has to go through is being violated and broken, right? Sometimes this happens in one fell swoop, like a red candle would just close below support. Sometimes it's what you see here, where this market, the bears in this oil situation, were pushing lower and trying to break the bull's resolve. So at that point, I would mark this as a dashed support line because it's no longer 100% intact, but it's still showing some use, right? There's not closing values beneath it. All right, lots of dancing around. Then finally, it took a minute, but we got below. And at this point, there's no action to take. Okay, we're just seeing that the support was violated. All right, fast forward with the action. There was a bit of a recovery. And check this out. This oil futures market, after the support was broken, came back and tested that level. Test means going and touching it and often moving at least one minimum increment beyond. That's what I mean when I say the word testing. So the low here was 106.45. This candle came to 106.46, this green candle. Then 2 candles later, we went to 106.62, right? Those are all slightly above the 106.45 level. However, what can you see here? Upper shadows, not able to close above it. So this is where we get into the psychology, and it's very, very simple, okay? So let's go back in time. So let's say you are a trader and you came in and you bought at this low. Let's say you got filled right at the low. It could be a little bit this way, that way, but this is how my dad taught this to me. He said, Hima, when a trader gets long, especially at the end of a trend, and they don't get out fast enough. So let's say you got long and you stayed long and you stayed long, but you didn't get out fast enough in this last push, right? Then what's going to happen here is often, because we're human beings trading, we're going to hold on to hope. So the hope kept you in this trade. Even though you went long, the market went up, you didn't get out, and the market reversed and went below your entry, you're still long. So what's going to happen? You're going to hope for a second chance. And when you get the second chance, you're much more likely to take it the closer it is to where you first entered. So you can have as little losses as possible. So after living through this, okay, your heart's palpitating, you're sweating, you can't breathe, right? We've all been through this. You're like, maybe the market will get back to where it entered and I'll get a chance to get out. And that's exactly what happens here. So the buyers that got in here but did not exit through all this decline are part of the reason why this old support becomes new resistance. Now you can see that it was tested, right? It wasn't held exactly, but still it was a useful area of supply in the market, bearish pressure. So I'm just changing the line from pink to blue. You can see from there that the futures kept coiling. They were really trying. They even came back again. Look at that. So many hours later, 106.38. What was our original? 106.45, right? Came back and tested multiple times before the downtrend resumed. This is just one instance of this, but if you can understand why your supports revert to or flip to resistance, and it works vice versa. If it was resistance, why it flips to support, the same reason, it gives you more confidence to trade the support and resistance levels that you see on your chart that you identify. Because whether you're newer to trading, you've been doing for a while, you can physically see, right? The highs, the lows, or as Gann calls them, the old bottoms. That's what he would have called this, right? And becomes a top. So keep in mind that there's actual reasons behind why support and resistance flip. It will give you more confidence to act on that near future trading. So I hope this deep dive really helped you understand why this is helpful to kind of really ingrain. It gives you more confidence in the future. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel to get notifications of my new videos. Hit that like button, and I'll catch you in the next one. You can sign up at the link to get my hot, timely, actionable updates as soon as I publish right to your inbox.